Bitcoin just blast past 40,000. Wait a minute, I'm getting another word. 41,000. Wait a minute, got another word. 42,000. This is the best time to get crypto. I hope you're ready because we're feeling the beginnings of this bull market. We're going to look at charts. We're going to look at the news stories and see why is Bitcoin pumping. This is Discover Crypto.
Capital flight is coming to the United States. The dollar is going to zero.
And that's what makes Bitcoin so special.
You have to have gone through a couple cycles to understand.
Once the price is able to clear this level, the breakout is on its way.
This is your indication to jump in now.
Thank you for joining everybody. It's December 4th. It's 10:38 a.m. because we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off. Is this the bull market? Is this the bull market? We're all getting excited. We're here with Kelly Kellum today. Kelly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Great movement over the weekend. Does it mean that we should leverage our house and go all in? Well, I don't think that's the case, but the charts are showing we are on our way to some really great price action. But is there a pullback in store? We're gonna be breaking down these charts. A lot of news to cover today, so everybody hit the like button before we hop in here.
Yeah, and it looks like it has pulled back a little bit. I mean, we could let's just get right into talking about some Bitcoin here. Traders are seeking some higher targets. I see chat is a little bit divided. Some people are saying no, definitely coming with the pullback. Some are saying, we're going to melt faces all the way to 48. Well, on the daily chart, Bitcoin has been rallying aggressively, breaking above several resistance levels, and after the breakout above 38. Then it just had to break past the 40K zone. And then after the 40K zone, it looks like it broke past that to 42. And then after that, 48K is the level to watch, everybody, if we continue to the upside. Meanwhile, the probability of a pullback is even higher considering the time frame because the RSI is getting deep into overbought territory. And the 4-hour candles have been showing a decrease in bullish momentum. Therefore, the likelihood of a drawback to 40K is very high in the short term. I think we should just, before we get into the markets, we're going to look at some of the alts that are pumping. We're going to look at some alts that are strangely dumping. But Kelly, I mean, I got you here right now. What do you think of some of those numbers that they're throwing out there? 48K, we were just talking ahead of time. But I want to talk to you on the 4 hour, are we starting to see a little bit of a pullback? We're looking at the 1 hour candles. I think I saw a pretty juicy red one that just formed. What's it looking like?
Yeah, I mean, coming here to the chart, there's a key level, interestingly, right here that we just touched almost exactly, and that's right at the 382 fib from the macro. If we come out here to the 3-day, that's the macro all the way from the top to the bottom of this market cycle. But jumping in, like you just asked, on the 4 hour candle, $48,000 is a number that we've been talking about for a long time because this is the golden pocket. We can see these two lines right here. This is a golden pocket, 0.618, 0.65. And this is the very bottom of that area. So I do think that is in the cards in the near future, but I'm not sure if we're ready to get there yet because what happens over the weekend, it's not like Vegas. What happens over the weekend doesn't just stay on the weekend. Price action moves on spot price and futures leverage prices, but the futures market like CME futures, that closes like traditional markets on Friday and opens back up Sunday. And if we're going to be covering this more in a little bit, but we got this gap right here we've got to contend with because this tends to be a liquidity area, a magnet for price action to come down. So even looking here on the 4 hour on CME futures, we got that sort of semi-top signal. And on the BitLab intelligence, we got a bearish signal and stopping volume for 2 candles. Are we going to come back down into here? Well, looking here on just a traditional exchange here on Bitstamp, we saw on the 1 hour chart, we had this sort of topping formation. We lost that line here on this hour here in the last 20 minutes or so. So I do think that we do have a strong case to minimum test 40,800 and more likely than not come down and test this region because this is a very important dotted line right here. Has a fairly macro shape on the chart. And there's a lot of lines on here, I know, but it's this parallel channel here that we're talking about. Control Z, this parallel channel right here. And when we get into this, we can see that the price action is, it blasted right through it. We got to come back and test this region. And that would satisfy also coming back to test that the futures gap that we have in the chart. So there's a lot on the line right now. If we do pull back, remember, pulling back is not, oh my God, it's over. It is opportunity to make sure that you can capitalize going into the strong price action we're going to get in 2024.
All right. And I see couple of comments on the glasses here. I have surgery on Friday, so I'm going to not be here on Friday's morning stream, but be wearing glasses for the entire week. Can't have anything on my orbitals. I do wear contacts for those who are wondering. Shout out to Huffman Eye Care. All right. A shameless plug for my eye doctor there. All right. Dr. Huffman, I hope this finds you. He's like, yes, we got mentioned. Those who are wondering, I told Huffman to sell the top. And he was like, no, man, Bitcoin's going to 100K. I almost wanted to shake him by his shoulders because I was seeing, instead of pupils and, iris at the eye doctor, I just saw money signs on his eyeball. And I remember him saying, no, man, 100K, that's when I'll start selling. Never made it there.
It reminds me of the I think it's Billy Madison. He grabs the kid by the face. And he's like, you stay here as long as possible. It's like, hey, take some damn profit so you can stay in the market.
Now I haven't been taking too much profit. I took a little bit of profit on Coinbase, rolled into Robinhood, and then Bitcoin rallied over the weekend. Coinbase had a nice little surge. Speaking of, we're going to talk about crypto in 1 second. I did watch the Adam Sandler animated movie over the weekend, Leo, about 2 class pets that get taken to different students' homes, and then they give them old-time wisdom.
I didn't even realize that was an Adam Sandler movie.
It's like a little Nicky voice. You can't really tell. It doesn't sound like Adam Sandler. Yeah. All right, let's get back into Bitcoin. Bitcoin hit 42K. What are some of the main 2 reasons why Bitcoin went a little bit high? Well, I kind of agree with this. All right, so we number 1, we have a possibility of U.S. interest rate cuts, and then then number 2, U.S. will begin approving ETFs. What do you think of those? The main 2 reasons we got. With labor markets and with, the jobless claims and just with inflation data, looking more and more likely that the Fed will cut rates next year. It's going to be a good environment for Bitcoin. Would you say that's one of the major catalysts, one of the top 2 or 3 catalysts here?
Yeah, I mean, just like anything in these types of markets, it's not going to be a signal. It's not going to be a data point. It's going to be a combination of basically the ecosystem and the environment around it. And I think the anticipation around these spot ETFs is definitely driving a lot of frothiness and excitement in the market, and understanding that we're seeing global liquidity start to tick up as well. and the fact that we very well may likely get rate cuts. Also, we have a presidential election cycle. They're going to want to do everything they can to make the markets, the broader economy, look as good as possible for the incumbent president. So I think all things sort of tied together, there's a lot riding on basically driving this bullishness. And so we still need to be a little careful and remember to take profits along the way. But I do think that we are setting up for some incredible price action.
All right. And incredible price action. And people think that movie was incredible. Quoting it, you're only cool if you pee your pants. That's one of the lessons he gives a kid. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's a different Adam Sandler. That is, it's a similar vibe. He's helping the kids. It is a Billy Madison style story there. Leo was really funny. Every time he played dead, I was cracking up. All right. Let's see. We also have... if Bitcoin CME gap will fill, make sure to buy the dip. It will mostly be bought up very, very quickly. If we look, I think it was 39, right around there. So keep an eye out on this level.
39, 39.4. It's here on the chart, just laid out right here. 39.4 up to about 40,500. And that doesn't mean price is going to tap the top of it. For this to fill, of course, that means the price action needs to come down and flush out this area. So this would be a great area to watch what the strength signals are when we get down in this, if we can see a potential reversal at the bottom of this, or if it's still looking exhausted and this basically holds minimal support and then continues coming down. Everything's going to ride on what the signals say when we get down into this zone.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the market. And before we do that, let's look at the crypto market. I do want to hit refresh because we're seeing a lot of volatility in these minutes. We're up 2.2% to the upside on the entire crypto market cap. Bitcoin dominance above 50%, now 50.8%. We keep scrolling here. ETH also had a great day, 2,200, everybody. Remember that felt bearish, 2,200. Also, BNB is up 1%. Solana looks like it wanted to stop at a pretty good price, $60.69. It is down 3.8%. Cardano is up slightly. It was around the 40-cent range. Now right below, it is 1/5 of 1 penny. Below 40 cents right there. Doge, 5% pump, everybody. That one's looking pretty good. We keep scrolling. We have another big winner with Shiba Inu is up 5% as well. Let's look at the biggest gainers. Terra Luna Classic. Stacks and Ordi Bitcoin plays right there. So I like this. Now we actually have, when Ethereum pumps, you would see other L2 pumps, or if an Avalanche pumps, you might see Avalanche ecosystem pump. Now we're actually getting a little bit of a Bitcoin ecosystem. What do you think about trading Stacks, Ordi, or even Bitcoin mining stocks as a more volatile way to trade Bitcoin?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to have exposure broadly throughout the ecosystem. And just like if you're going to trade Ethereum, there's no reason why you shouldn't also have Matic. And you have different levels of allocations in your portfolio to have exposure to these things. But I do want to just call out real quick, you saw Terra Luna Classic up there trading. That is the epitome of what you could call a speculation play. If you're going to trade that in any regard, you need to have stop losses involved. You need to make sure that this isn't something that you buy and forget about, because in my opinion, let me know your thoughts on this. In my opinion, it's not something I'm putting in a long-term hold portfolio. Fine if you want to make money on it, but you need to be into it and out of it as soon as possible.
Let me point to an example. I think the most glaring example of that ecosystem is Terra Classic USD. This is the stable coin. And if we go back, you can see it was a penny. It was under a penny at one point, I even think. So this is the 14-day chart. That means if you got in 2 weeks ago, you got in for about a penny. Right now, it is a nickel. To Kelly's point, that looks very, very lucrative. That looks, enticing. It looks like you want to chase that pump. But if there is a dump, that's going to dump about as hard as it gets. That coin right there, I'm not saying it will happen, but if it dropped 60% in one day, I would not be surprised. Whereas, stronger gaming token, AI play, DeFi play, L7, some futuristic thing that's not even really built yet, those are going to dump, but not quite as hard. So just be real careful out there. Those volatile ecosystems. I do want to look at the biggest losers because it kind of speaks to Kelly's point here. Biggest losers for the day. We have, it's some of these AI plays, Injective. So you got to get in, you got to get out of narratives. And right now, it looks like a lot of people taking the AI profits and rolling it into Bitcoin. Are we going to see this narrative over and over with different sectors?
Yeah, I mean, it's a story of capital flow. We're going to see, some people were asking, even in the BitLab Discord earlier today, or even last night, Bitcoin pumped. Okay, altcoins saw a little bit of a ride, and then you see some altcoins dumping. But you have to consider, especially with what we've seen in the bear markets, having a 2%, 4%, 8% pullback is not a dump. When you see prices rise on any of these speculative assets, there's going to be some profit taking, especially when you see something, what I would argue is the safest crypto asset out there because of the size of the market cap and because of how entrenched it is in both the institutional and retail side, as well as, governments and potential capital as a form of currency, like we see in El Salvador. You're going to see all this frothiness in Bitcoin and it spills over into altcoins. And when altcoins run, there's going to be capital flow and some profit taking going back into the safer play.
Yeah. All right. Can we get a 50% pullback? Well, some people are saying we're going much, much higher before any kind of a real pullback. Blockstream CEO bets Bitcoin will hit 100K by April. Okay. That's more important. 100K by April. Is that in the cards? I'm going to say highly, highly unlikely. I'd put that single digit odds, under 10%.
I mean, it's likely considering that,
You said it's likely?
It's likely it's possible. That's what I meant.
It's possible. Okay.
It's possible if all things go according to plan and that all the spot ETFs get delivered on and we see meaningful volume with people actually flowing capital into those. But I still think it's very likely that even if we get all the spot ETFs approved, that there will actually be a little bit of a dump around that when, that delay between when it's approved and when they go live. As well as, I think there's going to be a little bit of monkey business with the institutions, as Tim says, bringing that boat back so they can get on board.
Buy the rumor, sell the news. Now, you're familiar with the gold ETF, what happened over the next 8 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this for a video idea, Kelly? You don't have to make it. It'd be maybe more up your avenue than mine. What happened to gold in the 6-month period around the gold ETF? Maybe the 3 months before, the 3 months after, or maybe even a 12-month period, the 6 months before, the 6 months after. Was that a buy the rumor, sell the news? Was that a buy the rumor, sell the news a month after the fact, a month before the fact, the day of the fact? That might be a good video. What do you think of that? What do you guys think of that? Do you guys want to replicate gold ETF strategy from, what was it, about 2010? It was 10, 20 years ago they made that? 08, I can't remember the gold ETF.
It was 2000, mid 2000s.
Yeah, so around 20 years ago, would you guys would that be relevant today? What do you guys think in the peanut gallery back there?
But with that also, we did see a lot of speculative drive in gold go up to the ETF approval, and there was a pretty substantial, for a large market, a pretty substantial pullback following the ETF, and then it launched for 8 years.
Yeah, the grumpy poor dad. Always a huge pullback 2 to 3 months before the halving. Every halving has had it. I'd have to double check the charts, but it feels like it's going a little bit further away from the halving every single time. All right, let's talk about back to Bitcoin here. U.S. Space Force major urges Defense Department to adopt Bitcoin as an offset strategy. I know Drew's getting super excited about this one. They brought up a novel perspective. In a detailed letter to DoD's Innovation Board, he argued that Bitcoin protocols and similar proof of work protocols have substantial strategic importance, urging the government to delve deeper into their potential applications. He suggests that Bitcoin and its underlying technology could serve as contemporary tools in this regard, potentially redefining the landscape of cyber warfare and defense. Do you think our intelligence agencies and military aren't using Bitcoin already for dark payments? I think they are. I don't know, of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do definitely think that it's more integrated into our government, different government organizations than they would like to admit. I don't know for dark payments, because even if they are, this goes back to this argument, where would you want things spent if you want to track it? I would want it spent on Bitcoin and utilized, transacted on Bitcoin, because there is a record of all of it throughout the history from the second you do it, from every block, every transaction in the block. That's why it's called a blockchain. So,
well, I'll say this. If anyone can make anonymous Bitcoin wallets where no one knows what funded it, it's the NSA. Yeah. I would say that.
DZ, chat, Jeremy Ragsdale says, I didn't know the Amish knew anything about crypto.
Now, that is a good question. What percentage of Amish people know what Bitcoin is? Because, there are some, they travel into towns, they see a TV, they have to sell their wooden bird houses or whatever. So they have some exposure to technology.
I don't think they're talking about your outfit.
Guys, it's cold, so I'm not rolling up the sleeve today. I don't know what to tell you. All right, SEC met with Grayscale and 7 other top spot Bitcoin ETF applicants in late November. I'm working on a video right now where I actually talked to, not me, I found rare footage of Grayscale's head legal, because lawyers, they're not out there, at the bully pulpit, just less is more with attorneys. I found an interview with him. It's just from 2 days ago. Not too many people know about it. And I'm working on a video right now talking about Bitcoin ETFs. But now we got multiple agencies or multiple different institutions meeting up with the SEC, looking more and more likely we're getting that big mass approval in January. And a lot of people, smart people, are saying January 10th. I'm ready for it.
I kind of agree with a little bit of what Joshua Jake said on the content that we put out this weekend, that there is a potential that, especially with the DOJ actions that were just brought against Binance, that it is in some way an opportunity for Gary Gensler to basically request that I think it's 21 shares, which is January 10th. And then all the rest of their deadlines is March 14th, March 15th. So there is a case to be made that the wind is let out of the sails mid-January if the ETFs do not get passed, if that gets delayed to March. And that, by the way, don't let that upset you. That means you have another opportunity to stack before all lines are cut loose and the market just runs in 2024.
All right, and I'll check Eric's tweets regularly here. Someone's launching for it because he's been on point. He's the one saying 90% prediction or 90% odds that we're going to get an approval in January. All right, we keep going here. Bitcoin miners November revenue peaks at 1.16 billion, setting a record for the year, at least there. So miners experience a prosperous period bolstered by increased prices and substantial uptick in transfer fees. Looks like miners got in 1.16 billion, which is pretty good for around 40,000 Bitcoin, because a lot of this is going to be the ordinal volume. So getting a lot of fees there, because the miners are going to make 10 Bitcoin. I'm sorry, they're going to make Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Right now, they're making 6.25.
Do you think this is something I hadn't even considered before? Do you think this sort of setup with the fees structure on Bitcoin incentivizes miners to fund projects that develop on top of Bitcoin? So, So it does create a bit of a...
Yeah, who's the biggest cheerleader for NFTs on Bitcoin? It's Bitcoin mining. Who's the biggest cheerleader for ordinals and, L2s and, more increased Lightning Network adoption? It's going to be the miners, because they want more and more fees. They have to see the same thing we see. 2140, no more Bitcoin is going to be rewarded for people who are trying to mine a Bitcoin. The only thing that's going to be able to keep that network alive at that point is transaction fees. That's my prediction, at least. Now, that's a long time from now. We don't know what's going to happen on Earth in the next 117 years. Probably a lot, probably a whole lot. But there is a immutable law in Bitcoin's code. It quits giving out rewards around 2140, and it's going to be an interesting time period. Will we be living that long?
You mean humanity?
Will we be alive 2140? Me and you specifically.
Well, with the change in evolution in medical technology, it's very possible. But it's really interesting. I think you're the one that told me what Elon Musk had said about allowing people, developing technology for people to live together or live forever. And they asked him that, and he said, "Well, we don't want that, because we need people, we need generations to turn over. Otherwise, you're held in the past. Because if you don't allow new, room for thought, then you're basically stagnating yourself as a...
Imagine if the entire finance markets were ran by people Charlie Munger's age. But they, they're still alive. And then like 30 years later, it's still the same people. Yeah, they're probably, it'd be not really a lot of forward movement with anything there. All right, well, what's getting record forward movement? Gold. Gold's at a record high, everybody. Gold's at a record high. How are we all feeling about that? Have you been watching the charts on gold?
Dude, gold absolutely running. Peter Schiff actually had some words about this.
Pull up his tweet, or if he has one. I'm gonna read the story real quick. Gold briefly soared to a new all-time high on Monday, surging to nearly $2,150 per ounce before seeing a little bit of a pullback to 2070. Various factors drove the surge, but most notably, the Fed Reserve's comments on inflationary pressures remaining under control. It looks like it's its best year since 2020. And look right there at 2150, everybody. It's been on an uptrend for 2 consecutive months. boosted by the persisting conflict in the Middle East, which has increased demand for the safe haven asset. Gold and other precious metals tend to perform better during geopolitical uncertainty due to their status as a reliable store of value. I would also say what's very, very important is a broad months-long trend of sovereign nations accumulating less and less U.S. debt and more shiny yellow metal. So, I mean, there's finite dollars, and they're dumping U.S. debt, and they're literally grabbing the shiny thing over there. That's how bad U.S. debt is. Shiny thing, record high. They're buying that over our U.S. debt. Just for a little clarification, if you're wondering the health of our economy here. While many factors have caused bullion's overall uptrend, Jerome Powell's comments on Friday mainly triggered the latest upswing. Notably, U.S. Central Bank Chairman said current interest rate levels are doing a good job of keeping inflation under control and pushing it towards the desired 2% target, making more and more people think, all right, no more rate hikes and probably going to see some reductions here. We're able to find any Peter Schiff's. He's been tweeting like crazy. I know there's one or two.
Here's the tweet Peter Schiff put out yesterday. It said gold trading above 2,100 tonight for the first time in history is far more significant than Bitcoin trading above 40K. Gold is completely broken out. It's in uncharted territory, while Bitcoin still needs to rally more than 60%. And then I love this. Maine here, Trader Maine, shared this chart. Well, here's what gold looks like compared to Bitcoin. This is the value of gold compared to Bitcoin. You can see it's down and to the right. And of course, I also said to him, I said, well, look at how tech like NVIDIA has performed compared to brick and mortar assets this last year. This is a good analog for how Bitcoin will perform compared to gold, because this is not only a new thing, but it's also the most secure, the most finite. This is the best asset in history. Will it have ups and downs? Yes. But we see every time it has a down, it stair steps up with higher lows. And I mean, the amount of new people coming into this space in the next 2 years is going to literally blow people's minds.
Let's see. BJ, are you excited about gold's use in medical technology? I'll just throw something your alley.
Gold's use in general?
I mean, isn't it used in more and more like ed technology, I thought?
I can't comment on that. I know platinum is used a fair bit for certain gene editing things, but that's moving away. They used to use zinc ladyfingers.
Yeah, I'll say this.
Gold
broadly,
more than a conductor? I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, I would say broadly speaking, we're getting less and less analog, where doctor holds sharp thing, touches human being. Now we're getting more and more machine interface, separating the two, the human, operating on the human. As there's more and more machinery in place, it's going to see more and more precious metals being used in that. And as we live longer and longer, we're going to have a higher need for this shiny machinery at all these doctors' offices, which I'll be going under the scalpel 4 days. I'm freaking out about it, everybody. So you might hear me mention it a few times. All right.
Hey, you do know, if you need to talk about this, we could talk about it. I've had over 80 surgeries with 22 broken bones. And so.
How many scalpels or lasers have touched your eyeballs?
2 when I had LASIK.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
It was fantastic.
Still good?
Yeah. I mean, it was no pain whatsoever.
How's your astigmatism?
It was completely fixed everything.
Oh my God, I have the world's worst astigmatism.
Yeah.
All right, silver is used. Oh yeah, silver has antibacterial. All right, Bank of America to pay $12 million fine for being evil and repeatedly breaking the law, sending false information to regulators. So for lying to the U.S. government. One of the largest banks in the country getting slapped with a multi-million-dollar fine by the CFPB. They said this is for repeatedly sending false information. They violated the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, which has been in place since 1975. And this requires lenders to maintain certain records and submit data about applications and originations to the reporting agency here to make sure they don't have predatory practices like maybe some forms of discrimination, because obviously we don't want that. They also said hundreds of loan officers neglected their duty to ask applicants a number of demographic questions as mandated by federal law. Why do they have a duty to have a demographic question? But instead of following up to get the necessary details, they falsely reported that 100% opted not to provide their demographic data over a 3-month period. Why do you want their it depends on the demographics, I guess. If it's how much income you earn, that's obviously something important. But if it's the melanin level in your skin, that really shouldn't have any bearing. All right, in addition to the $12 million fine, they're requiring Bank of America to take measures that would stop its illegal data collection practice. This just kind of just trend on banks here. Just, how they want control and how they don't like freedom. And here we have another example with the Bank of England proposing stricter regulations on stablecoins. The model in question involves stablecoins that are backed by a basket of assets, including traditional currencies and securities. While this aims to maintain a stable value for digital currency, it also introduces complexities and potential risks that regulators find worrisome. I think the most worrisome issue is it highlights inflation and how their specific currency loses value. I don't know. What do you think? They obviously hate the basket of currency stablecoin.
Well, here's the deal. I think it's just an absolute crock of, yep, I was about to say it. Because if we think about the housing crisis in 2008, the reason the market collapsed like it did was because they were putting a basket of trash assets together and then saying because it was a basket, it was better. Now, is this a good, like, we can't compare the two things, but at the same time, why are they coming down with such ridiculous regulations on crypto when they've been just an absolute failure at regulating traditional markets?
Stupid is as stupid does. I think as Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Our government repeatedly shows us who they are. Just people fail to listen. Hey, Deez, I got a guy who can do that LASIK for a deep discount. Come to you and do the surgery in his white van. In and out. I got you, LOL. I want it to be like Minority Report. I want to go inside someone's weird apartment. I want to eat a moldy sandwich and drink the old spoiled milk. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, but great
I do
scene.
need to say something. I forgot to mention this when we were doing charts earlier. We do have an incredible new partner for trading, Blowfin. It's here on my screen, blowfin.com.
Oh yeah, I'm about to fire that up.
You can go right down below. You can see it right there in the comments. There's a link to join. Sign up with our link. You get there's a $160 bonus that expires today to make sure.
What do you have to deposit? Do you know?
I think it's $62 million. No, it's not. It's not that high. Just you go on there, it breaks it all down for you. But we're going to be trading there on Blowfin quite a bit. We're going to be showing the trades on here and actually walking people through exactly how to engage with this market, not with all the TA we've been talking about, but how do you put it to practice in the market so you can set your stop losses, make sure you're doing isolated versus, we're going to be breaking this all down and trading along with you guys. So go ahead and sign up with that link there and get involved.
Yeah, because some people are just so certain. I know it's going to 38, or I know we're going to 44 to shake out the weekends. Okay, well, put your money where your mouth is. That's what I always say. I'm gonna get back into trading. I've been doing just spot trading lately, and now I think it's time to just a safe, relatively safe compared to 40x, 3x, 5x.
Yeah.
If you really have strong conviction, like, oh my God, the Fibonacci's lining up, the support's lining up, 10x. When's the last time you got above 10x leverage trading? Yesterday? You're in one now?
No, I actually did. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I was basically teaching my one of my neighbors, who's a friend of mine, how to trade. And I said, I had a...
You just levered them up with a 40x long, huh?
No, well,
they're in profit.
Well, I showed them. I said, look, watch. You trade with whatever leverage you want. And they already kind of know TA. So I was like, okay, do it. I'm going to show you why this doesn't work. And they've made a perfect call for where the price was going to go. They went at 35x and they got liquidated. Even though the price went to where they wanted it to go.
They didn't close.
These markets, they will come down, flush out your liquidity. They see it in the order book. They'll flush you out and then use you as a spring to move in the direction that you thought it was going to go all the time. That's why you need to be very smart with how you trade, have stop losses in play, be okay with being stopped out, because if you're on 10x, you lose 10x as fast, just like you gain 10x as fast. So you have to adjust your risk management and trade within the strategy that you understand how to do that.
But man, is it a dopamine release, right? When you have like a high leverage and you're like, my $10 is now $20 up or down. It's making emotions.
Well, I do it on the weekends. Like I'll throw like $15 in like a 15 or 20x trade while I'm watching football.
I like that.
It's more, that's like gambling. I'm not trading out of my trading
that's
portfolio.
A gamble.
I'm like, oh, maybe this will just, what if the market just runs for the next 6 months and I have a 32x, gain on a $10, but I don't trade in terms of my account with my strategy that way. And it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'd rather put 15 to that than like an expensive whiskey drink at a restaurant or something. All right, let's talk about the SEC getting scolded, getting their wrists slapped. Court threatens to sanction SEC over legal battle with a crypto firm, and here is why. So they're cautioning them on a series of misinterpretations in its case against Debtbox. They threaten official sanctions if the regulatory body fails to substantiate its claims. Let's look out for this judge, everybody. Let's look out for this judge. We don't want a Epstein judge situation to happen here. If you don't know what happened with that, it's almost too scary to even mention. Look up Epstein judge, though. Earlier in August 2023, SEC had obtained a warrant for the temporary asset freeze and restraining order against Debtbox. According to the SEC, they violated laws by selling unregistered securities termed node licenses and defrauded people of $49 million. In response to the claim, they presented evidence that sufficiently counteracted the allegations. They provided documents showing the majority of the accounts were closed by the bank